one of the reasons I'm making this is for me. Happy holidays. Good morning. This is Friday, December 12th. I'm doing a video to post today. It'll be posted by 5 o'clock. Maybe sooner. I usually schedule for 5. So today, it's Friday, December 12th. There's a lot of different things that happen on December 12th. But one thing that it is National Gingerbread House Day. It's not National Gingerbread Day. That is actually in June. June 5th, actually. Seems weird to be in June for gingerbread. I don't even think of gingerbread in the summertime. But so today is Gingerbread House Day. Now, that's a big tradition in a lot of homes. The families compete against each other. I know some around here. There's my clock, right on time. So, we don't do the gingerbread house still. I'll probably start that with the grandkids here soon, but not this year. But the one I really like for today, for December 12th, it's National Ding-a-Ling Day. And it is a day to reconnect with the people you haven't heard from. So that would be good to do. Probably going to be part of my title. Something to do with ding-a-lings today. So reach out and touch somebody you haven't connected with in a while. And seriously, it's the holidays. A lot of people are alone for the holidays. So reach out to them. If you know widows, people that have, split from spouses and partners, and people that's kids don't come around, or vice versa. The kids whose parents don't come around, that happens. Yeah, just reach out and be there for them. Since it's gingerbread day today, I'm going to make some. And one of my favorite ways to make it, one of the simplest, I always do this on Christmas Day. Sometimes Christmas Eve too, depending on when family's here, but this is a staple in our house on Christmas Day. And I was going to make it last year, and then we ended up going somewhere, so I never made this recipe. So I'm going to go ahead and make it today, because that way you can maybe make it on Christmas Day too, and you'll have the recipe. I will post the ingredients in the description. So basically, it's a real easy one that you mix everything up. And the way you cook it is in your slow cooker, crock pot. And the best way to make this recipe is in the oval one, and the reason is it cooks evenly around in the oval and gets to the center. This will bake, I haven't made it in a while, 2 hours and 30 minutes in the crock pot on high. So the round ones, I have made it. I have a big round one, but I have to cook it about another 20 minutes on high to get the center firm. And it starts pulling away from the sides more. So to me, it dries it out more. Now, you want to serve this. The best way, what I do is after it's done cooking, I pull it out of the crock pot. I pull the crock part out and let it sit out and cool. And then we won't eat it till later, but about the time I'm starting dinner, I put it back in the crock pot on warm. But the reason I do that is so it all sets up good and cools down good. But then I warm it back up, and you can serve some of the best things. I make a brown sugar sauce. It's basically a caramel type sauce out of brown sugar. That's my favorite way for it. My husband likes caramel sauce and whipped cream, and I have both. So I think that's what we're going to do today. You could frost it. You could serve it with ice cream, or of course the whipped cream, or Cool Whip, and especially warm. What I'm going to do with my crock pot is set it up over here on my vintage stove. And there's a plug there, so it's where I usually do my crock pot. Go ahead and plug it in. So it's now on. I'm going to put it on high. And before it gets warm, I'm going to grease the insert. I'm going to grease this with butter real quick. I'll be right back. I'm just going to put this in there and rub it around. Now I will be unwrapping this butter, and I could have used that. Actually, let's just do that, because this will go in the recipe. This is a stick of butter, a half a cup. I'm going to go ahead and put, I might as well use the wrapper to it. This has been out for about 2 hours. It's very room softened. I'm going to use this to spread my butter. Okay, so we got this done, and I'm going to actually set it back over here to start warming up. Oh, I guess, you can see the butter in there. Okay, that there. That's good. I don't need to put the lid on now. Okay, so let's get into the ingredients. And I'm going to do them in order I'm going to be using them. So we are going to use a cube, half a cup of salted butter. Now this happens to be the Tillamook unsalted. I am out of salted butter. Everything in my fridge is unsalted. So I am going to make this into salted butter by adding a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. I'm going to use this bourbon smoked sea salt. It does not matter which one you use. That's granulated. It's one of my favorite. I do all the bourbon smoked pepper, garlic salt, and that's the regular salt. So I'll be softening that up first thing and putting a 1/4 teaspoon of that in there. Okay, but then I'm going to have, I'll read these off right, a half cup of white sugar, 1 egg, put that there now, 1 teaspoon of pure vanilla, but I only use pure, 1 cup of molasses. I love the blackstrap. You can put honey in this if you don't have molasses. 2.5 cups of all-purpose flour, and then 3/4 teaspoon of salt, 1 teaspoon of ground cloves, 1.5 teaspoons of ground cinnamon. I'll bring the recipe over here to going back and forth. 2 teaspoons ground ginger, 1.5 teaspoons baking soda. Make sure it's baking soda, not baking powder. Baking soda. And then I'm going to be needing 1 cup of really hot water. So let's go ahead and start the electric teapot here. Make that really hot water. Okay, so that is the recipe. And prep time takes about 20 minutes. Cook time takes about 2 hours, 10 to 20 minutes, depending on your crock pot. There's my water already boiling. Okay, I made tea earlier, so it's probably still hot. So I'm just going to leave that on. It'll keep boiling every few seconds until I need it. So let's start. And you'll need 2 bowls. One for basically dry ingredients, one for your wet ingredients. So I'm going to set this one over here for a minute. We're going to start with the butter. So I already know this is half a cup, and it's going to be easier to mash this in with the salt in the big bowl. So I'll just do that. And I'm going to take a 1/4 teaspoon of my sea salt. Any salt, regular table salt works. All you're doing is salting the butter. I have tried this without salted butter, and it's different. I mean, it does need the salt. So we'll need that again. So, okay, and my favorite spoon for creaming stuff. Just gonna start. You don't want this melted. You want it room temperature. Incorporate the salt into the butter. Of course, it's easier just by salted butter. I normally have both. Actually, I normally just buy salted butter because I don't overly salt stuff. So I figure get my salt that way. In a bowl, you do your softened butter, and then you're going to add your sugar, and you're going to cream them together. These are old dairy tins from dairies. Got the flour, the sugar, powdered sugar. Okay, so we are going to need a 1/2 cup of white sugar. I'm just going to use this. I know I should have all this stuff measured out, but I like to do it this way. Okay. Okay, 1/2 cup of sugar. Put that in there. I'll need that for the flour, so we'll just leave that there. Okay, I'm going to cream that real quick. Do that, and then I'm going to be using my hand mixer. Next step. Okay. Now, with the hand mixer, or your KitchenAid, or your little electric hand mixer, I guess you'd call those too, add the egg and vanilla and mix until incorporated. So we're going to do the egg. And I'm funny about this, but I like to beat the egg. Doesn't say to do that. Beat the egg. Up. And we're also going to add the vanilla. 1 teaspoon of vanilla. Take a teaspoon and add 1. Using that again, so okay. So now I'm going to cream a little bit, and then I'm gonna get that in there. Just go ahead and get this. I have multiples of these. This was my grandma figure, and this one fits my hand good and stuff. If you can see that. Okay, so there's the first 4 ingredients. So the next thing we're going to do, now that we've got that all mixed up together, is we're going to add in the molasses. And it is 1 cup. Look at that. Huh? Okay. A little bit left in there. I put molasses in my coffee. I love it. Good source of iron. And I love the black strap, so there's still plenty in that bottle for me to do that. Okay, so back to our recipe. The last of the wet ingredients is the 1 cup of molasses. I use blackstrap. It's a tartar or robust molasses, not sweet. The lighter molasses actually have a little bit of honey, or they're sweeter. So if you prefer it to use that, you definitely can. You can also use blackstrap, and you could even put a little bit of honey in. That wouldn't hurt. So now I'm just going to do that molasses is thick. There's a saying, wet, thick as molasses in January. Somebody's slow. They're slow as molasses in January. This is December. And my molasses is pretty slow. I just think it's more fun to use my vintage utensils. Yeah, that's fast. I'm going to get the spoon again. Okay, so there is our wet ingredients. I'm going to set them out of the way for a minute. Okay, now in this other bowl, we're going to do all the dry ingredients. We're going to do the flour, the salt, the spices, and the baking soda. So I'm going to start with the flour. And we are going to use 2.5 cups of flour. Okay, there is our 2.5 cups of flour. These back in my Hoosier. We're going to do our salt, our cloves, our cinnamon, our ginger. And, okay, so on the salt is 3/4 of a teaspoon. So there's that. Now, we're going to do Cloves next is 1 teaspoon. So let me just take the lid off. And let's get the teaspoon this time. I love cloves. This time of year I'm always putting them in my green tea and in my coffee as well much. I just soak cloves in water overnight too and drink it first thing in the morning. That's really good for you, for your digestion and your circulation and stuff. Okay, so there's the cloves. Move that out of the way. 1½ teaspoons of ground cinnamon. I buy the Saigon. This is Costco's. There's the 1½ teaspoons of ground cinnamon. And then 2 teaspoons of ground ginger. A lot of ginger because it's gingerbread. There's 1. And there's 2. Okay, there's all our spices. And then the baking soda. And the baking soda is 1½ teaspoons baking soda. Water back on because I'm going to need it soon. So in the other bowl we've got the flour, the salt, the spices, and the baking soda. We're just going to stir it. You could, mix it if you wanted to. Okay, there is your dry ingredients all incorporated. Okay, now pour this dry mixture slowly into the wet ingredients while blending while you're doing it. So, and I do it that way. I start with the bowl with the wet, with the big spoon already in it. And just going to do a little bit at a time. Let's incorporate that real quick. And the last of it. We're almost done, actually. Now, I'm getting all the dry ingredients incorporated into the wet. At this stage, your batter is kind of on the chunky side, or firm. Okay, so there is our dry ingredients incorporated into the wet ones. Now the next step is kind of fun. We are going to pour in the hot water, and we're going to use 1 cup of very hot water. So this has been boiling over here. I'm going to put it right back on. As you can see, that's probably hot enough. I'm going to get it to a rolling boil. This is on high. Our butter is melted. Okay, I'll stick you back over here for a minute. My water is rolling boil. So I'm literally going to take 1 cup of rolling boiling water. And I'm going to pour it in here. And mix it up. And I don't use the mixer. I just use the spoon for this. And all we're going to do is mix it into a smooth batter. And something about the heat and the baking soda. I think it's what gives this, it's kind of the texture of this gingerbread. It's just one of my favorites. And I think it's this step right here. I think it's having this baking soda in your batter. I'm not, that much of a gourmet cook where I looked into why things do things and ingredients work together or don't, but I do know I actually didn't do it hot enough one time and the texture of the bread was very dense, and so I attributed it to that. There's my batter, as you can see. Looks like a real nice gingerbread batter. It smells so good. Okay, set you back here for a minute. Pour the batter in and place the lid on. I'm going to cook it at first for 2 hours and 10 minutes with the lid on. The last 10 minutes, I take the lid off. So good. I try to pour it in the middle and not splash the sides. Yum. It is so gingerbready. This is Friday, December 12th. Like I said at the beginning, it is National Gingerbread House Day. I'm going to post this video. I may try to get it posted about 2, just so it's earlier in the day. You guys might want to run out and get you some ingredients. There is my gingerbread, and because the crock pot's already hot, it's been on for about 20 minutes while I mixed up the recipe. It's already starting to, really warm. So now all I'm going to do is stick the lid on. And I'll check back in with you. I'll pull the lid off and show you what it looks like and let it cook for 10 minutes without the lid. Then I will shut the heat off completely. Let it sit there for probably 10 minutes. Lift the crock out. I'll set it on the cutting board on my island. And it'll just sit there and cool probably about 2 hours. Because that'll be 12:30, 1, yeah, till about 3:30. And then I'll put it back in here and put it on warm. Because I want the cake to cool. And then I'll put it back in there. It's just really, really, really good. So, okay. Well, that's the recipe. That's how you do it. I'm going to start working on the video while it's cooking so that pull it into CapCut and then get all this footage started and go so that once I have the finished product, I can get this posted. It's very good. So, in hindsight, I should have made this yesterday and then could have had it up for this morning, but that's okay. I knew I was making it today for Vlogmas. So, okay, bye for now. And I may not talk anymore on it. I might just show you some cuts of, some pictures, some video of the next stage of when I take the lid off, and it'll sit and cool for a couple hours. And so we won't be eating it till around 5:30, 6 o'clock. So, and the video will already be posted. So, anyways, I will show you I can make caramel sauce, and sometimes I do. How we're going to have it tonight. Now you can serve this with ice cream, Cool Whip, whipped cream, caramel sauce, and then I make the brown sugar butter sauce and pour over it. That's my favorite, but I'm not going to make it that way. Actually, what's good about this is we'll put this on our individual servings so that when my husband's gone this weekend, I'll probably make the butterscotch sauce tomorrow, and then I can put it on that. But on that one, when I'm putting it back in to warm up, I pour that on and let it go down into the cake. But how we're going to have it tonight is some whipped topping, and we like the Ghirardelli's caramel. I also have the chocolate in there. So that's what we'll be using on it tonight. Okay, 2 hours and 10 minutes is up on the timer. And what I do now is I take off the lid. And this is a special step that I do. So this is also a bourbon smoked product. This is the sugar. I'm going to sprinkle this on top. It just adds a little bit crunch, if you will. That's what that looks like, and as you can see, it's separating. 2 hours and 10 minutes it's separating from the edges. I'm just going to let that sit for another 10 minutes. And then I will remove the crock, set it over here for a couple hours. I will put the lid back on, but one of the reasons I'm doing this right now is see all the steam on the lid? All the steam will dissipate, and then it'll be good to put it back on. But you can see, okay, that's all I'm going to do now. Okay, so I've taken it out of the crock pot 2 hours ago, and it's cold. It's all cold to the touch, so there it is. And in about, it's 2:30 now, in about an hour I'm gonna turn that on and put it back in to warm it up. I did want to say too, if you don't want to go to all the trouble of making gingerbread from scratch, you can do this with the box. I forget the brand. I want to say Dromedary or something like that. Gingerbread cake and bread mix, or no, gingerbread and cookie mix or something like that. You see it in the grocery store. I think it's a 14-ounce box. You could do this with that. You actually would want to double it for that size crock pot. Anyways, all right. That's what I wanted to say. So I'm working on the video now. I've got it in CapCut, so working on it.